Okay, hi everybody. Today is Thursday, September 7th. This is the Kubernetes community meeting. This is a community meeting and will be posted publicly on YouTube, so please be mindful that what you say is being recorded. I am Aaron Krickenberger. For those of you participating in Zoom right now, you see my name is Sig Testing. That's because I am one of the co-leads of Sig Testing. Shout out for all of the awesome work that we do. We meet Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific. Um, Today we have a demo from Sebastian Guazgan on sealed secrets and probably a nice long rant from Jace about the status of the 1.8 release, a couple Sig updates, and some announcements related to elections. Sebastian, are you around for today's demo?
I'm here.
Cool, take it away.
Okay, thank you. Share screen, boom, slides. Okay, good evening, good morning, everyone. I've talked before, I've presented different things in the meeting. I'm going to talk today about sealed secrets. It's actually something that's been written by someone called Angus Lees, but Angus, or Gus, as we call him, lives in Australia. So the meeting here is not helpful. The time is not good for him. He's sleeping. So I'll present it for him. We both work at Bitnami. I presented Kubeless a couple of weeks ago. Bitnami focuses on apps. I think you know about all of this. What is sealed secrets? The problem that we were trying to fix is that you can keep all your Kubernetes manifest in under version control in Git, except your secrets. Why? Because the secrets are not encrypted. The content of the secrets are not encrypted. They're just base64 encoded. So you cannot keep your secrets under version control. They would be pretty much in the clear. So that was the problem. So what did we do with sealed secrets? It's basically an extension to Kubernetes. We create a new kind, a new object, which is called a sealed secret, which is truly encrypted. And when you create this secret with kubectl, there is a controller that decrypts it and then creates the real full Kubernetes secret. The code is open source, github.com/bitnami sealed secrets, so you can get it. And indeed, it's quite straightforward now that a lot of people have talked about extensions and third-party resources, CRDs, and so on. Sealed secrets, there is a TPR right now. We haven't yet moved to CRD. We will, definitely pretty soon, surely for 1.8. But right now it's a TPR called sealed secrets, and then there is a controller running in cluster in Go. This controller, when you start it, it generates a public private key, which allows you to then decrypt the secrets. Okay. Yeah, there is a nice blog by Gus himself if you want to go through the details, especially details about the encryption algorithms that are being used. And he actually checked that with guys from Sig Updates. I'm not sure who exactly at Sig Updates, but some people at Sig Updates reviewed the encryption. So again, it's the controller starts, generates a certificate. Then you have a CLI, kubectl. And with that kubectl CLI, you can retrieve the public key that's in the stored inside the controller, in the controller logs, and then you encrypt your secrets. It creates the sealed secret, and then you can store that in Git under version control. Okay, so you have your secrets in Git. You can store everything in Git, and we think it's great. How does it look here? I'm going to go through this demo, but here you have a little snapshot. Kube creates your secrets. So with the dry run, you can just create the JSON of a traditional secret. We know this, but you don't store that under version control. And what you do with kubectl, the command is that you kubectl and generate your sealed secret. Actually, I made a mistake with that command. And then you see that the content of the actual object that's generated is truly encrypted. So I'm going to give you a quick demo. Sealed secrets. So you should be able to see that. That should be big enough. I'm going to look at all my pods. I'm on a GKE cluster. There you go. Well, a little bit too big. One more, one less. Okay. You see that at the bottom. Let me do this again. Close that. You see that at the bottom, I have one pod in my kube system namespace, which is the sealed secrets controller. So I've launched it before. So if I look at my third-party resources, you will see that I have a sealed secret third-party resource, which means that if I do get sealed secrets, it answers and it tells me you have nothing if I know how to type. So it tells me I have nothing. And if I look at my secrets, it tells me I have just the default secret. So let's create a secret, a basic secret, create secret, generic foobar. Dry run is just going to create the secret as a file. Then from literal, we're going to say secret root password and stick the JSON in a secret.json. So now what do we have? We have a secret.json. Okay, we're back on our feet. You see the data and it's just base64 encoded. You don't want to store that in GitHub. So now what do? We use our kubeseal command and we get the secret object and we generate a sealed secret. So you need to generate the sealed secret. And now if we look at this sealed secret, there you go. You see that it's the kind is sealed secrets. That's the TPR. The API group is different. And then the spec here has the encrypted secret. And now we can just create this. Okay, it's created. And now I look at my secrets. And amazing. I have a foobar secret that just got generated by my controller. And now when I look at the data, I fall back on my feet with the base64 encoded version. So the controller decrypted the sealed secret and generated the secret object. And of course, if I look at my sealed secrets, my object is there, my foobar sealed secret. Okay, so I hope that's relatively clear. There is a nice garbage collection. So if I do a delete sealed secret foobar, if you delete the sealed secret, it's going to delete the actual secret. We have taken care of a nice garbage collection. So that's it for me. Thanks a lot for the demo. That was quite quick, but I think it's a nice little system, sealed secrets under the Bitnami/sealed secrets. If there are any questions, let me know.
That was really cool. I guess I have a silly question. So I noticed how like the sealed secret created a secret, much like a replica set creates a pod. If I delete the pod, the replica set will create another pod. Does the same thing happen for sealed secrets?
Actually, I don't know. I don't know if you delete, I don't know. We should ask Gus. We'll ping him.
All right, excellent. Thank you for the very concise demo. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, moving on.
I have a question about it. What is the relationship between this and the recent changes to add KMS, the
key manager?
Yeah, key management services.
So, I mean, I think the key management service, and in 1.7, you have encryption in etcd of the secrets, but the secret itself, when you get it from the API, it's still base64 encoded. So you cannot stick it under version control.
Thanks.
So with sealed secrets, you have proper encryption, outside of the Kubernetes API boundary.
All right, thanks. Great question, Daniel.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for that.
That clarified things for me as well. So moving on, I think next up we have the 1.8 release update from Jace. Jace, are you around?
I am indeed. Apparently I get to wax poetic, although I'm not going to. So much relief given to everybody. There's a lot in here. I would ask that you just read the notes in the agenda to get the full gist of this, because there's a lot of links out to things. But bottom line, we have begun burn down meetings. That started yesterday. I believe, yeah, yesterday. It's been a heck of a week. And there is a link in the agenda to the meeting notes, and also in the meeting notes, you'll find a recording. We had really good attendance, and we started a lot of the conversations that we're going to be continuing throughout the release, which is still targeted to September 27th. There is a Google group called the Burn Down Meetings, or Kubernetes Burn Down Meetings, that you can join, and there's a link there that you can get an invite to the meeting, and you can also contact me privately, and I'll add you directly to the meeting if that's easier. So I will do that. We'd planned for yesterday, per the originally agreed timeline, to do the beta cut, but Adam, our branch manager, felt there was some concerns about getting good test signal and having the beta actually be usable, and so we decided to punt to today. We're kind of going through that process today to see if we can get good signal on all the tests and all the things. I haven't actually checked in with Adam in the super recent future or past about that. So we'll figure out what's going on there. For updates on that, for the most part, you can just go to the Sig Release channel and ask questions. I just noticed there's an ominous cat behind me. So if you have questions about the release process, you can go to Sig Release. Right now we have a lot of missing release notes in the draft, and I would love for us to get more traction on getting those Sig labels checked off in there. If you are a Sig and you've already done your draft and are done and didn't check that off, please go ahead and make sure that is, because it helps us keep record keeping on that. The deadline for that is tomorrow. Word on the street is that Radhika will come haunt you if you don't get your release notes in. You don't want that. And Jennifer Rondo may also haunt you. So please do everything you can to get those release notes into the draft, because it helps us stay ahead of the game. And as the release crunch time comes closer and closer, these things are going to become virtually impossible for us to go and do a bunch of street pounding to get these things done. So in terms of the 1.8 milestone feature issues, Ehor's not here, but were he here, he would say in a lovely accent that please make sure that your issues are updated. We have a large disparity between the 37 marked as active in the tracking spreadsheet versus the 61 open issues in the 1.8 milestone in the features repo. That's not great. If you are in a SIG and you have decided that your feature is not going to ship in 1.8 and you have not filed for an extension, please go in and remove the 1.8 milestone and change it to next or 1.9, but anything but 1.8. There are 113 current open issues in the 1.8 milestone. Just a reminder that we are going to start curating these because this is one of the core pieces of signal we have about the health of the release. So if something isn't in a test and there's an issue out there that indicates we have a problem, that's key to us determining usability of the release in the long term. And open issues will be taken very seriously by the team, as it should. So right now, I think Maru put an update in about the Mungebot, but essentially you can look for the issues that have been removed by the Mungebot as we move forward by filtering out the milestone removed label. Lots of failing release master blocking tests. Unfortunately, this is still happening. If you look at that, the test grid summary for that, not looking great. This is currently what's hampering our ability to cut the beta. So if you see tests on there and you have any access to either fix it yourself or to recruit, wrangle, coerce, what would be another good synonym for that? Inveigle, if necessary, somebody to do those test fixes, that would be great. Lastly, this is just a PSA about the release notes label. In the future, we are going to be relying more on the release notes section of the template for PRs. So just, if you can, make sure that when you're putting in those the release notes section of the PR, try and follow the guidelines that are in the actual example, or look up other PRs that have that in place, just so you can make sure that formatting is correct, because there is some fine work going on right now to automate the scraping of those release notes into some sort of usable format. And that relies on good source data. So thank you for that. Are there any questions? And I have not seen chat yet, and I'm scared to look.
Jace, I wanted to add one thing. This is
Yes.
Aparna. From the point of view of the features repo, the part of the release team and the PM Sig will be talking about what the messaging is overall for the release and for the blog post next week, early next week. So it's important to make sure that the descriptions, just reaffirming what Jay said, important to make sure that the descriptions are accurate and the status of each feature are accurate, because that's how we will select what the release themes are that are going to be highlighted.
Yes. And Christopher and Luciano asked if the release notes should be in the Google Sheet. The Google Sheet is a mirror of the GitHub data. So GitHub is the source of truth for all these things. So please make sure that the release notes draft is updated and that the SIG that you are part of is checked off in that list. And yeah, release themes. This is something we'll probably talk about when we do the retrospective this time, but this was supposed to be a quote unquote stabilization release, and there's a lot of features in it. So we need to, as a community, sort through that. And I'm not necessarily worried about it because it's something that we'll figure out, but it's something that we definitely need to talk about. Any other questions?
Last question I saw from Anthony was about whether or not there is a raw auto-generated list of pull request release notes posted someplace. So in the past, somebody's run a tool called rel notes, which generates a bulleted list of pull requests along with a one-line thing that was scraped out of release notes. And then everybody has dived in and picked those apart and sort of created their individual changelogs from that. We're not doing that this time around. We have somebody, I think Jago has two people who are working on improving what is produced by scraping release notes, but that's not something we're leaning on, which is why Jace is asking us to be humans and sort of manually pull together what we, on a SIG by SIG basis, find important. People have done a fantastic job of adding SIG labels to pull requests, even though there's no bot nagging them to do this. So you should be able to, for your SIG, go construct a GitHub query that looks for all the pull requests that were closed by a certain date that have your SIG's label applied, and you could use that as a source. This was something I think that Phil Whitrock raised during the release meeting, or release burn down meeting yesterday. Did I get that right, Jace?
Yeah, that's correct. And I shared a link in the Zoom chat, which is bit.ly/18relnotes. This is my own painful attempt at looking at these release note label equals true and merged equals true. So you can see how all over the map those release note indicators are. And that's why I was asking about, can we make sure that we normalize the data in those, because it's really unusable right now. And it doesn't have to be that way. I think people are just struggling with the format. And so we're going to try, and I'm sure this will come up in Contribex as well. We're going to try our best to make this easier and more straightforward. It's just a process, and we're in the process, going through improving it as we go. And so SIGs, if you do want to see those, the release note equals true, merged PRs, that link I provided in chat will get you there. So, any other questions?
One other bit of color I wanted to provide is that, at least according to the schedule we have posted right now, code freeze is forecast to be lifted by Wednesday, September 13th. Based on the fact that we haven't cut a beta yet, that may be at risk. If you want to find out more information, we will be keeping Kubernetes Dev updated, and attending the release burndown meetings would be helpful. The reason I raised the code freeze date is that some of you may have noticed that the Amazon or COPS, the AWS or COPS pre-submit job that runs on your pull requests is failing, but things are still merging despite that. That's because it was moved to non-blocking a little while ago when we discovered that for some reason the code being tested wasn't the code in the pull request. We believe we've resolved that. We believe we've resolved quota issues around the account that was being used to run these pull request jobs. And so our intent is to move that back to a blocking pre-submit job that, yes, you should pay attention to by lifting code freeze. By the lift of code freeze, which would be Wednesday, September 13th, unless we determine otherwise along the way. Okay. If there is nothing else for release 1.8, to the best of my knowledge, we do not have Wojtek here to speak on behalf of 1.7, but no current ETA on the latest patch release for that. And I believe the same can be said for 1.6. Okay. So moving on, I think we're on to the Sig Updates part of the agenda. Dan, I believe you're here to give an update on Sig UI. Take it away.
I am, yeah. A quick update from the Sig UI side. I've got some funky lens flare happening, but this works because I'm in Seattle, so it's reflective of the atmosphere outside right now. Yeah, I added into the agenda a link to our biggest new feature, which is going to be in the next release of Dashboard, which is authentication login. I would have done a demo for that, but I wasn't able to get that set up. So basically just a login screen to see, and there's still design refinements happening there that hasn't gotten a lot of UX attention yet, but that's something we're excited about, that now Dashboard will respect RBAC, any RBAC that's set for a cluster. And right now we have 3 main ways to authenticate: basic, just being username and password, via a token, or via a kube config file that they can choose to upload. So that will be, I think will be around the same time as the 1.8 release. I think we'll be 1.7, so we're out of sync again, but I think unless there's a new version of Client Go released, that is the current plan, to release 1.7 and then follow up with 1.8 at some point in the future after that. So login's a big new thing we're excited about. Other than that, there's some more minor updates that you can download logs on the log page, and traditional Chinese is now supported. And then future work, we're looking to, the big things are to improve the search functionality, to have autocomplete. I think that'll be a big usability improvement for people. And adding in a settings page so we can have integrations with third-party tools and be able to manage those there. And then adding in live reload. And so while we're now respecting any RBAC set by the command line, RBAC management via Dashboard is still not something that's supported. So that's something we're looking to make progress on. Right now, we mostly just have 2 developers working on Dashboard, so it's a little bit of a slower pace than it could be, but hopefully we're thinking about ways to recruit more and get more interest. We've got KubeCon coming up, and at the least we'll be hopefully kind of repeating the same survey that we've done at the last 2 KubeCons, just kind of getting a perspective on how people are using Dashboard and how it's serving their needs. And then beyond that, maybe doing some evangelism and trying to get some people interested in contributing. And we moved our weekly SIG meeting to now be Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's my update.
Cool. Any questions for Dan? I see something in the chat about authentication capability.
Is there federated identity support? For example, redirecting to someone else to perform the authentication. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm sorry, but
that's okay.
I'm sure
You eventually get to that where people realize, you know, it was one of the things we had in OpenStack that was really tricky. You get all the basic authentication working in the UI, and then you realize, oh crap, the federated identity is a slightly different path with redirects, and just something to think about.
Okay. Yeah, I'll note that down. Thank you.
Okay. I think that may actually be it for Sig Updates today. I see Zach has been making some notes on Sig Docs, noting that maybe Sig Docs may be able to help with release notes formatting. Probably wants to collaborate with Jace on that. And actually, the mention of Sig Docs reminds me of something that came up during the Burndown meeting yesterday. Pretty please, if you have docs that you want to go into kubernetes.github.io and you intend for them to be for the 1.8 release that we're working on right now, they should go against the release 1.8 branch. They should not go against the master branch. This is confusing because it's completely backwards from how we're about to do stuff in Kubernetes, in the main Kubernetes repo. I understand, right? Like if you want to get something into the 1.8 release in the Kubernetes repo, you do it against master, but it's completely backwards and opposite in the kubernetes.github.io docs repo. Big thank yous Jennifer on that. So anyway, we do have humans who are like attempting to notice this and correct as they see it, but it would be a huge help if when you're pull requesting doc changes in right now, you probably want them to be for 1.8, so you probably want to do that against the release 1.8 branch. Does any other random SIG want to just drop in an update? I think we have some time right now. Okay.
One thing we might be able to do is actually change the default pull request branch for that repo.
Okay, that would be fantastic. I think we had some discussion about maybe like locking down master or preventing people from making pull requests against master as well. That so discussion about that in Sig Docs would be appreciated as like the right sane strategy going forward.
Yeah, I think that Zach is on this, and I think I promised yesterday to bring it up in Sig Docs next week. So definitely on my to-do list.
Okay. Well, if anybody needs help flipping the right bit in GitHub, let me know.
While we're talking about docs, something I've run into recently as I've been doing client work is I've found that there's a bunch of protocols that are really poorly documented. For example, like how we encode protobufs. I think that is docs the right place to house that sort of thing, or do you think we need to do retrospective proposals, or what is the right solution?
I think you should file some issues against API machinery.
Or contribute stuff, but
I'm happy to contribute stuff. I just was wondering, like, is the right home in API machinery, or is the right home in the Kubernetes docs?
That kind of seems like it's a developer doc almost.
Well, so Kubernetes.io is for user docs. However, people building on top of Kubernetes APIs are one flavor of user, right? So those docs, I think, do need a home on Kubernetes.io, as opposed to contributor docs for people hacking on Kubernetes, which don't belong on Kubernetes.io.
Yeah, if it's part of our API specification, and I think it arguably is, then there should be some.
Yeah.
Sort of
for example, Phil created these nice-looking API reference docs.
Yeah.
Our plan was to have some of the client-related docs go hand in hand with that.
Yeah, are you talking about like the port forward and attach exec PD protocols?
Well, that's one of them, but actually also like our proto encoding is 4 magic bytes plus a proto encoded unknown object with a raw field that is then the proto encoding of the actual object in question.
Yeah.
And the only reason I know this is I managed to go find the code that actually does the encoding, and I read the code.
Probably document our envelope format better. I think it's actually documented in Clayton's original proposal.
That could be.
Actually, yeah, I think the proposal should definitely be updated and then become the seed of an SDK. Like, I think that's something we've never done, but like many proposals should actually go into the core of a doc. that we never really did that.
But yeah, so in the reference section, I mean, hopefully eventually we'll have more complete docs for people writing clients on Kubernetes.io, but right now we do have the reference section and we do have API docs there. So putting something relating to this there would be helpful.
Okay, as I discover this stuff, I'll write docs and throw them there.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
And I think somebody was talking about what we could or should do with proposals through their life cycle to turn them into documents. That's probably something to be discussed if it hasn't already at Sig Architecture, which I believe is in the process of refining the proposal process.
Yeah, there's a proposal open, and it's community PR 967. I think we just talked about earlier today. We're trying to chip off pieces and make forward progress on them. So if someone wants to take a whack at that, comment there and create a separate issue or pull request in the community repo.
Okay, cool. As a representative of SIG testing, I'm going to hijack real quick to show one tiny little thing. There's been a lot that's been going on in SIG testing, and I hope to give a fuller update later. But we have a new dashboard in TestGrid called Kubernetes pre-submits. I'm looking at the summary tab right now, and it shows, roughly speaking, the passing, flaky, or failing status of every single job that's run as a pre-submit. Not all of these are blocking pre-submits. So like I said earlier, the AWS one is not a blocking pre-submit because we can see for the past day or so it's been failing. But it was passing at one point, and we're working on making it passing again. So this is historically something I've had to go like sift through a bunch of pull requests one-on-one or go look through Kubernetes to find. And now you can just go to one page. It's testgrid.io, and then, God, I already lost it because of the sort of presenting thing. Kubernetes pre-submits. If I click on this, it takes me to the summary tab by default, and I can see the status of all of the runs. The wording's wrong. It's not the past week. It's like the past 24-hour period. But yeah, just a little sign of improvement in the testing for the world. Okay, moving on to announcements. Sarah or Paris, would you like to give us an update on the election process?
You want to, since you've written the doc, or do you want me to? Oh, I'll do it. Go for it. So the voter's guide should be posted either today or tomorrow against the community repo. We'll have the exact location shortly. Calls for nominees ends tomorrow. Today's Thursday, right?
It is Thursday. Yes, all day.
All day. And then next is the 13th. The 13th ends for membership for voting. That's a form. All of this stuff is also going to be located on the voter's guide too. So lots of hot links on there. Anything else? The election itself starts on the 19th and it's going to last 2 weeks. Decision will be made on the community meeting. That's October 5th with a blog post to follow with decisions.
Yep. Anybody have any questions about the election at this point, the nomination process? Have we gotten out the vote well enough that you're tired of hearing about this?
Rock the vote.
All right, cool. That's the announcements then.
I got one more there. There's still a bunch of people who were on the original list of GitHub handles that signify that you have standing to vote, but you must fill out the associated Google form in order to collect your email address that you can actually receive a ballot to vote. So if you have not filled out the form, please do so. And I believe Clayton was going to send out, Clayton or George will send out a follow-up. People who are listed, whose GitHub handle was listed, but have not yet filled out the form.
And Sebastian, to answer your question, we have about 375 people who have standing at this point, and only a handful that we have said, no, please keep contributing, you're super awesome, and we want your work and your efforts, and next time you will have had enough time in the community. So The voter registry has not been published yet, although the initial list of people with standing that we knew was incomplete is in the early emails about this.
Sure.
We will be following up with more.
I guess I was sort of I am in that initial list of people with standing. I filled out the form, but I have no idea if I'm actually registered. So I don't actually know if, I'm in the registry or not. So that's why the registry was public.
We'll make sure that we get it published ahead of time, ahead of the 13th, so that we can do double checking. We're also cross checking with that full initial list of standing to make sure that we continue to get out the vote from those people. So you would get an email if you are not in the of standing, or sorry, if you are not in the registered list, but you are in the original of standing list.
Okay. I've been pushing a lot of my guys to make sure it's done. So I wish I had a way to double check.
We have been sending out batches of confirmation emails. It's possible that some people were missed, but we will be posting all the Gallup IDs.
I actually don't know if we sent confirmations to the people who were in the original list. We may have. That one I don't know. There you go. Swarna says you should have gotten an ACK email from Tim. She did. So we'll double check for you, Eric, and then also send out more messages asking for people who were in the original list to register if they haven't.
And to answer Doug's question about the instructions on the bios, all the nominees will have instructions for bios once we're live with the voter's guide. The people in there now did it due to travel reasons and other things. So if you you're not going to be available in the next 48 to 72 hours to do a PR, then just get it in there now and we'll figure it out later.
For the nominees, is there a place where they can actually put a little blurb on their statement of what they're trying to accomplish? We had that nice, other communities, really nice touch.
Yep, that's what the bio is, and they're going to be doing PRs against the voter's guide.
Well, the bio is them. The statement of, their vision of what they want to accomplish is something different, isn't it? I want to drive this in the community. I want to make the UI the best thing ever. I want to make sure it's interoperable. We've used that in other communities, and it's kind of a nice touch. It's kind of like their little pitch.
And so at least for the ones that I have seen, it includes both a brief bio about who the person is and the platform they are trying to pursue. So the ones that are out right now are the combination of those two things.
Cool.
And I think we should all align behind Jace's global NetEase request. His whole platform is global NetEase. Although, to be clear, doing things like improving the UI or global NetEase aren't necessarily the primary objectives of the steering committee. That's a fair point. The objectives of the steering committee are to make this a functioning organization that is improving the experience for contributors who are building all of this in order to govern the project.
Yeah. We aim to be a high functioning project instead of a barely functioning project.
And I would also emphasize that, like, I really don't think the steering committee's job is to really push any particular agenda other than the functioning, right? Like, it's not to add emphasis. It's not to push any particular project. It's really to ensure that everything moves smoothly, and all the decisions that happen in the SIGs are the things that shape the project.
Yes. Going back to the whole idea and earlier conversations about governance, we're trying to make this as distributed a governance model as possible. So the steering committee is really about oiling the spots where the broader distributed decision-making system breaks down.
And just to be 100% clear, if you believe that you want to have large impact and you are going to do this via the steering committee, I guarantee you the time spent on the steering committee will actually have a negative impact on your ability to have impact on the project, and you should go work in a SIG.
Technical impact on the project.
Technical impact.
Technical impact, correct, sorry. Well, but I mean, but like if you had a specific thing you wanted to do for impact.
You mean if I want to make containers run on my dishwasher, this isn't the way to do it.
Correct.
Okay.
Or if you want to change the UI so that it's black and green.
But on the other hand, if you wanted to make sure that we had a code of conduct that was actually useful, then this might be a thing.
Yeah, although even there, I think we plan on pushing a lot of that stuff into SIG governance. I mean, code of conduct maybe is one where we will actually cover it. But anyway, I just wanted to really emphasize the fact that we really view this as a service to the community, not a way to get something, your particular pet project done.
But you call it a steering committee. What are you steering? That's what you should make clear so the scope is clear.
So there is a repository called Steering in the Kubernetes GitHub organization. And in there, I believe,
huge backlog list.
they backlog that MD document, which I will paste in chat now.
Yeah, that should give you an idea of what work is going to be involved.
Yeah, what work you think is going on.
If those things seem incredibly mundane or mind-numbing to you, the steering committee is probably not the place. If you find these to be deeply exciting, I'm maybe a little worried for your mental health, but look forward to collaborating with you on these things, because these are the chopping wood and carrying water things that make this project run more smoothly.
Yeah, it's about formalizing the informal, finally making calls on things like who owns the build.
Documenting internal processes.
Yeah, documenting de facto things that we've been doing for a while, or fixing things that we haven't been doing for a while, things like that.
So there are people whom I deeply respect on this project who have turned down nominations because they feel they could be more effective contributors elsewhere, and I am super on board and in favor of people who would like to make that sort of decision. One question I had, which maybe I just haven't read the right thing. So we're pushing to get out the vote. Do we know when voting has happened and deadlines for that stuff, or is that still being worked out?
Yep. Voting will begin on the 19th at some time, which is still to be inserted in the voter registry guide. And then it will end in 2 weeks after that. And then on the 5th, Thursday, the 5th of October, we will announce the winners here in the community meeting, and then publish immediately all of the stats and a blog post saying "Go Team" and all of that.
And there's a shared calendar added to the meeting notes for following along at home, so you can add notifications so you don't miss any of the important days.
Because calendars are awesome and run our lives. Thank you, Caleb. And thank you to Caleb and George and Paris, who have been helping in all of the support structure of getting this vote to happen, because it is not a small amount of work.
Yes.
Okay, I think we've talked about the steering committee and elections quite a bit. Are there any other announcements people would care to make, or do we want to get back 17 minutes of our life? All right, excellent. Well, I've enjoyed spending this Thursday with all of you. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a happy Thursday.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.